Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Construction Record Podcast. I'm digital media editor Warren Frey. And with me today, I have
Lindsey Cole, DCN and JOC editor.
And as with almost every Wednesday, we round up the news, what is happening on the East and the West. So why don't you start with the East, where a whole bunch of stuff's going on?
Sure. Yeah. I feel like a bit of a broken record, so forgive me for bringing us up again, but I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up some latest developments when it comes to the Ontario government and the Greenbelt. Obviously, something we're following closely. We have a few more developments. The legislature resumed on Monday. And as a result of that, obviously, during questions and, a lot of oppositional comments from the opposition, I should say, there's been some more buzz regarding the Greenbelt. So another cabinet shuffle has occurred amid yet another minister's resignation, and then unrelated, so they say, to the Greenbelt scandal is Labor Minister Monte McNaughton also gave his resignation because he's moving to the private sector.
I mean, so he might just be to hell with this. I'm getting off this ship before it completely sinks. That's just me speculating. I'd like to point that out, but.
Yes, it could very well be. Could have a great opportunity before him. Who knows? But either way, it obviously caused another shuffle to occur amid a very large controversy that's happening. So, no matter how you slice it, I think this whole thing is not a good look for the Ford government. So, not only did he have to shuffle things once again, but then the legislature resumes, and there's questions galore.
So this is not going to end anytime soon. If the official opposition has anything to say about it, anyway.
Well, this is it. And I think what was interesting is during the first, sitting, they shot down a private member's bill from the NDP because the new housing minister, Paul Calandra, plans to introduce the Conservatives plan to introduce their own bill. And this bill is, so to speak, will put an additional 7,000 acres into the Greenbelt and will, quote, codify the boundaries of the protected area in law and not just through regulations. So, because regulations, as we know, can change and things can go from there. Now, this has not been put into the legislature just yet, but it is supposed to happen soon, and who knows, could change tomorrow by the time this podcast comes out.
True.
But as it sits right now, there is plans to seemingly secure these lands and do a complete 180 from what we would see maybe a month ago. So something we're following very carefully, and we'll certainly stay in tune with things as the controversy, so to speak, progresses. As I touched on, so Monte McNaughton did give his resignation, but despite all the other hubbub that's happening in Ontario, the industry did want to highlight Minister McNaughton's accomplishments during his time as Labor Minister, because he did make a lot of strides for construction, and they really remarked on that through a piece that Don Wall did. We spoke to several industry stakeholders who... Yeah,
it was a lot of different people.
It was a lot of different people, and it was, really highlighting that for the first time, unions were also, united under the initiatives that Monte McNaughton had proposed to them. So he kind of made a lot of inroads and a lot of strides during his time in government. So I think a lot of those people in the industry wanted to give some kudos to that, because it was, I could see it even on his Twitter account. Almost every day was something advocating for apprenticeships, advocating for inclusivity within the trades. A big thing was the washrooms on site and proper fitting clothing for women in construction was a big one too. Not to mention all the initiatives when it comes to increasing opportunities for apprenticeships in the trades, coming up with Skilled Trades Ontario as opposed to the Ontario College of Trades. He did do a lot of things for the industries. So it was kind of a good encapsulation by Don, showcasing how the industry appreciated his efforts and are obviously wishing him the best in his future endeavors, as are we, because he spoke to us a few times. We saw him at many industry events, so it'll be interesting to see where things go from here.
He's been on this podcast, so
he has. So
there you go.
So there you have it. Another thing that I thought I should bring up, just as a good follow-up, there was a crash that occurred in August 2022 in Barrie that sadly killed 6 young people. Basically, their car crashed into a construction site, into a very large, deep pit. And initially, news kept kind of coming and coming and coming after days after the crash, and even months after the crash, to the point where some criminal charges were laid against Condrain Group, who were the company that was working on that project within that site where the accident occurred. So the latest development in that is that the criminal charges have been withdrawn by the Crown. So all 6 counts of criminal negligence causing death are gone, essentially. And that effectively, takes the criminality out of this case, accusations, I should say, puts a kind of a close to that. So I thought I should mention it because it was such a large tragedy for the area and, frankly, across the GTA and even Ontario, because it was just, obviously a terrible, heartbreaking incident, to which Conjuring Group even says that in a statement. They emphasize that they always had confidence in the justice system, but are still committed to the community and moving forward from the tragedy. So from this side of things, it looks like, the incident is mostly closed. So, but yeah, I thought I would give a development to that. I would also be remiss if I didn't emphasize that we have a story coming up from Don that is basically speaking to developer Dream about their moving forward to build 5,000 units, I believe, across Canada, because of the government's new move to give a GST break. So we reported on that initially. We did some reaction to it, and now we're starting to see it come to fruition with a large developer, Dream Unlimited, saying, hey, we're going to capitalize on this. This really does make a difference, and we're going to start building. So, for example, they have more than 1,000 rental units that they could begin construction of in Ottawa. So we're starting to see things roll out and
pretty quickly after the announcement.
Very quickly. So I would be remiss if I didn't mention that, and certainly check out Don's story. Other than that, we have Angela at the Canadian Institute for Steel Constructions conference, so you can watch her coverage there. And then moving to the west, we are kind of staying on the housing train as well as the steel train. So I'll start with a story that I thought was really interesting coming out of Nunavut. There's a modular home factory in Aravat. Forgive me if I said that wrong. It's slated to start production in the first quarter of 2025. And it's going to include a 42,000 square foot factory and a 40,000 square foot warehouse. But what's key about it, I think, in this story, it's rather large. But I think what's really key about it, obviously, the modular home component.
Yeah, that's a perfect place for them to build this.
Isn't it?
Just ship it there, right? So
that's right. So this is actually could be a game changer for the far north in Canada, as is highlighted in the story. Not only will it employ about 40 full-time staff, but then you've got construction of it, and then you've got what it actually means for housing out there. So overall, a good news story, but also an interesting project story, because the look of the facility itself is pretty cool, and I think there's a lot of elements to it that our readership would be interested in. So kind of going on the housing train that way, and keeping with that theme. Another story that I thought was interesting that we have covered is, we called it Words from a Fire Official. using mass timber in high rises isn't cut and dry. So Angela spoke to a fire official in Vancouver. He was out of Vancouver, I should say. He was a presenter during this a recent symposium on mass timber in Waterloo. And basically, while he is certainly not shooting down by any stretch mass timber construction or in high rises or anything like that, so I should qualify by saying that, he does say that fire safety for the first responders needs to be really, really top of mind, because there are various elements that, there's basically three important pieces of infrastructure when a blaze occurs in a building: the firefighter elevator, the exit stairs, and the standpipe system, which is located within the exit stairs. So these things, when constructing a mass timber high rise, needs to be accessible, and they need to be, considered very, very extensively. So I thought it was a really good perspective, because it's a little bit different than just speaking to, architects or engineers, which are great to speak to, but this was like kind of a boots on the ground.
Which we hear a lot less from in terms of mass timber.
Yeah.
It's just kind of at that stage of adoption, I suppose, right? So
that's right. And there's still some, code changes that may need to occur, and a lot of it's still kind of being reviewed, but obviously major progress is being made in the use of it. So, which is interesting. So this was just kind of a different angle that we took when it came to covering that trend in the industry. Lastly, on the West, that I thought was interesting as part of our steel construction feature for September, is a BC company is seeing a major business spike. This may or may not be shocking, after the Kelowna fires.
Yeah.
So, they're seeing it's Kelowna-based BC Steel Limited is seeing a 50% increase in their calls since the West Kelowna and Scotch Creek fires. Excuse me. We have Daryl Williams quoted as saying there's at least 20 calls a day and growing. Yeah, obviously there's reasons for that. These buildings can stand during
a whole lot more heat, and fire, which is not going anywhere. They're going to have fires next year too, I'm sure. So,
well, this is it. So it's an interesting perspective about not only business increasing, but what's more is they are building for fire resilience and even more climate events. So it kind of expands out to not only just what they're doing in case of fire, but going beyond that too. Because as you just highlighted, this is probably not the last season of bad.
I guarantee it isn't. Yeah. And I'm no expert. I'm just,
but, chances are, So it was a good encapsulation of not only a business angle, but a looking forward angle about resilience. So some cool stuff. I definitely suggest checking out the stories. The links will be pasted in this, in our podcast link, or you can check out our newsletters as well. So that's it from me.
Great. And up next, we have Angela, as previously mentioned. She talked recently to Jason Ball, who's the president of Ball Construction, who recently celebrated their 100th anniversary building. So they have kind of fairly wide-ranging interview of what they did to celebrate and what they've done in the past and what they're doing now and sort of the whole journey of the company. So that is up next.
Been you've been busy with the celebrations, I guess, right? That was a couple of weeks ago now.
It was, we had it. That's right. We had the official celebration. It was on Thursday, September 7th at St. George's Hall in Waterloo. So we had about 420 to 450 people.
Oh, wow.
People came and went, but it was a pretty good crowd. It was for sure 420, probably 450 in that range. Yeah, we had a really good turnout. We had family and friends. We had our business partners, which we consider our business partners, all our sub-trades, suppliers, our insurance, bonding, banking, the associations we belong to. So, the Ontario General Contractors, the CCA, the OG, or the Grand Valley Construction Association. We had a lot of people from various associations there too, and it was COCA was there. I mean, it was great. So it was nice. It was well attended, and it's our success is based on our partnerships. So we're really proud of the partnerships we have with our suppliers and our trades, and of course our financial people. So it's really nice to see them come out. We were super pleased to see our second generation. So Cameron's father came out. He's part of the second generation. Jim Ball, our uncle Tom Ball, who actually was the first speaker of the night. He was just brilliant. He's 88 years old, and he opened up the evening with just a terrific speech. He wore his father's top hat from probably 75 years ago. Yeah, he had this top hat. He said, so Tom Ball, who was a vice president in the second generation, 88 years old, he gets up in front of over 400 people and starts off by saying, I think his opening line was, I was told to come business casual. So in 1923, this is business casual. And he's wearing a suit and a top hat. And he goes, this is the way it would have been in 1923 for business casual, which he's absolutely just an hilarious opening. And the guy delivered so well. Like, he just a fabulous. And he opened up and he gave, he basically covered off, our core values, which is, the basis of what his father founded the company on. His father and his uncle, Frank and Harold Ball, they're the Ball brothers that started the company in 1923. And of course, their core values were, based on, integrity, honesty, a true partnership, working with trades, and equality. And it was a customer service based company, and it still is. Harold believed, that's my grandfather, he believed that construction should be a fun process for everyone involved. Like when he started in the business, I don't know if you know the history, but he started out working with his brother-in-law, John Gaffney, in just outside of Stratford, and they were doing a lot of civil work. And he had worked with him for a number of years, and he thought to himself, this is Harold Ball. He thought that, he'd like to do bigger things, like do buildings, not just bridges and culverts and things like they were doing. They were doing a lot of civil work. So he went to his older brother, which was Frank Ball. And he said to Frank, hey, why don't we start our own general contracting business? This is 1923. And, we'll call ourselves Ball Brothers. And, we'll do buildings. We'll do larger projects. We'll do municipal projects. And so anyhow, they started the business and they got a job. The first job they got was the Kitchener Steel Railway Barns. We call it the car barns in 1923. It was like a 9-month project worth about $200,000. And they did it, and they impressed the city of Kitchener people they were doing it for. And they went on to do many, many projects. I mean, they were super successful, and they had a passion for construction, like an actual passion. It wasn't work. It was like, this is what they love to do. And I think that they instilled that in every generation. So every generation of our company has that same passion. We have a passion for construction, because if you don't have a passion for construction, you shouldn't be in the business. It's one of those things. It's dynamic and challenging. And if you enjoy that, it's not even working. It's just, it's so rewarding doing buildings. So that's what they started with. And Harold, he also in 1923, which is really impressive. He didn't want the project just to be, completed to the satisfaction of the owner. He wanted the whole project and everybody working on the project to get satisfaction out of the project. So he wanted them to enjoy it. He wanted to push his passion and share it with the people on the project. So the trades that were working on the project, the men working on the project, he wanted them to all be part of it and have buy-in to the project. So it wasn't just the client satisfaction at the end of the day. It was everyone enjoying the process. So at the end of the day, he tried to change the way people thought about construction and change the industry, that it was, it was a fun thing to do. And construction is a fun thing to do. I mean, we have many challenges that are, test you. But at the end of the day, when you complete a project, it is so fulfilling. You've got that sense of completion. And when you have a happy owner, you've exceeded their expectations, met and exceeded their expectations, and everybody in the process has enjoyed it. I mean, there's nothing better to do than construction. At least that's the way we feel. So, and I think that passion for doing construction has been, from 1923 to today, it still exists. And those core values that I mentioned, they still exist, which is I think, pretty impressive. And we have 4 generations of the Ball family in this company. So Cameron's son, Ethan, is now with us, and Ethan Ball is the 4th generation. So we're pretty proud that we've got 4 generations of the same family involved in the business. And we have many partners now. We have, and I don't know if you know who the partners are, but Rod Aiken, he's one of the partners. Brent Cochran, Gary Hauk, Cameron Ball, and myself. We're the 5 partners.
Okay, good. Can I find this all in one place, maybe on your website or something? Just so I get everyone.
Yeah, you can find a lot of it. You'll see it in some of the history. Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Has the company changed over the years? Like, did you start off doing something different and then evolve into other areas of construction? Obviously, the people have changed over the years, but any other changes you see?
Yeah, I think the last 100 years, I think you've got to be able to pivot when you need to. So yeah, in the early days, they did a lot of the Ball brothers did a tremendous amount of institutional work. A lot of institutional work, and then during World War II, they pivoted and they did a lot of housing. They did wartime homes. They probably built close to 5,000 wartime homes during that period. They did whatever it was that made sense for the market. So I think you've always got to watch where the market is and then adjust for the market. And I think Ball brothers did that very well. The second generation did that well, and of course we're the third generation, and we did the same thing. So when Cameron and I bought the business in 1997. We actually had our business plan, and we looked at, where was the industry going? You have to analyze the industry, and we did. So we went after certain like big box stores, some long-term care, and we adjusted the company to meet those and address those growing markets. We do a tremendous amount of recreation buildings. So in 1997, we looked at our recreation portfolio and we expanded it. So we build more hockey arenas than any contractor in Canada. Like we just completed 3 arenas recently this year, and we're on our another one, our 4th one, which is in Peterborough right now. So we do a tremendous amount of sports facilities. We just opened up on the weekend the Caledon East Community Center, which was an aquatic center. We do aquatic, we do ice, we do a lot of spectator buildings. So we've done a number of OHL facilities. So that's what we do. We pivot for the market, and then we get the right people to do those jobs, and we team up with the right consultants, and we deliver the project because we really want to deliver projects that are successful for everyone and everyone on the team, and make sure that the client is 110% satisfied at the end of the day. So if you go onto our website, you'll see a lot of video testimonials from past clients, and you'll see if you look at any of those, you'll see that they're just excited that and happy that they were involved in the process. I mean, that's really the end of the day, that you want to have a happy customer, and that they enjoyed the process, that it wasn't a fight, that it was what they wanted, and they had fun doing it.
Right. Okay. So did you say the company started in Stratford?
No, it did not.
Oh, okay.
The company didn't start in Stratford. It started in Kitchener. What happened was Harold was working with his brother-in-law, John Gaffney. What I can do is I can probably email you a little excerpt from our 75th anniversary, which will actually give you a little bit of history of where they started, in 1923. But he was working with his brother-in-law, and they were doing culverts and bridges for Gaffney Construction, which is a Stratford-based company. And he thought to himself that, I would like to do buildings. So he talked to his brother. He had an older brother named Frank. So he said to Frank, why don't we start our own company, and we'll call ourselves Ball Brothers? And it was Harold and Frank Ball. And they started up in 1923, and here we are today, still building buildings all over Ontario, right across Ontario. From Windsor to Ottawa to everywhere. We're across the province.
Right. I was going to ask you that. Are you outside of the province at all, or just in the province?
Just in the province. We do go outside the province, and we'll go. We've gone to Quebec, we've gone to Saskatchewan, we've gone into the United States, but only because a client asks us to. We don't look for opportunities outside of the province because there's lots to do in Ontario. But if we have a customer that says to us, "Hey, can you help us in another province?" We'll go to that province, and we've done that. We'll do projects in other provinces, but that's only based on our customers asking us to help them out.
Okay.
And we have a tremendous amount of loyalty with our customers. I mean, we have part of our success is our repeat business. We have a lot of repeat business with our past customers.
Right. Okay. But always out of Kitchener. So you started out of Kitchener, still headquartered in Kitchener, right?
Absolutely. It actually started in Frank's house in 1923 on Simeon Street, which is downtown Kitchener.
Wow, in a house.
Oh yeah, worked out of a house and then grew into the corporation it is today. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you have any? I was going to ask you about some of the big projects that have been completed over the years. Like some of your most notable ones, I guess, and any anecdotes you have. You've shared a couple already, but if you have any, that kind of stand out.
Yeah, and I think the Frank and Harold they did so many amazing buildings in the Kitchener-Waterloo area, like the post office in downtown Kitchener. Those are spectacular buildings. As a matter of fact, we have a very thorough archives here. We have all the drawings from 1923 till today. We archive them, and the University of Waterloo, the School of Architecture, borrows drawings from us, and they've actually borrowed 5 or 6 different projects that are significant to the area, architecturally significant to the area, and they keep them full time at their at the School of Architecture in Cambridge, the University of Waterloo School of Architecture in Cambridge. But a tremendous amount of civic buildings that are significant all through the the 40s, 50s, and 60s. We did some tremendous, like my father and his brothers, they're so proud of some of the projects they did. One of the notable ones is the Center in the Square. It's it's a 2,000 seat theater, and it's where and it's a beautiful building, and the acoustics in it are just state of the art. And that was done in the early 80s, so that's like 1981. So the Center in the Square would be one of their milestone facilities that they built. They did another center in Thunder Bay. They did the main theater building in Thunder Bay too, just about a year and a half after they did the Center in the Square in Kitchener. A lot of hospital work. I think the Penetanguishene Mental Health Hospital in Penetanguishene is just it was in the 60s, and if you look at it, the late 60s, 70s, it is just a spectacular facility. Even today, it looks like a modern building, a complex building. So they did a tremendous amount of hospitals, prisons, and schools that they're all proud of. I mean, and all over the province too. Right to Ottawa, to Timmins, like Northern Ontario. They were very active in Northern Ontario. Projects all across Northern Ontario. Rainy River, Kenora, Marathon. You look at these places, and Ball Brothers has had influence in all those areas. Sault Ste. Marie, Sudbury, Timmins. Yeah. And then of course we take care of the entire province. So southern right down to Windsor, and then over to Ottawa. Yeah. So in our generation, we've done the Clay and Glass Gallery, which is a spectacular facility in Waterloo. The Stephen Hawking Center at the Perimeter Institute for Theoretical Physics. When we did that building, Stephen Hawking actually came. So Stephen Hawking actually was toured through the building, and 2 of our partners, Cameron Ball and Gary Houck, gave him a personal tour of the facility. I'm very proud of that, to meet somebody like Stephen Hawking and then give him a tour of the facility. That's a spectacular project. Wayne Gretzky, when we opened up the Gretzky Center in Brantford, Wayne Gretzky came down, so we all hung out with Wayne Gretzky at the opening, and it was fun working with his dad, Walter Gretzky, because Walter made sure that he came to the site on a regular basis. So he was like the sidewalk superintendent. He was checking on it all the time. So it was fun working with the Gretzkys. And when we do sports facilities, it is a lot of fun because the municipalities that we're working in, or the private owners that we're working with, because we do that too with private owners of recreation facilities. They're very enjoyable projects because everybody enjoys an aquatic center, an arena complex, and it's the community gets behind it. But every project we treat the same way, that we're trying to give the customer the best value for what we're doing, and we're very proud of it. Some of the university projects we've done for our university customers, like the University of Waterloo, we did the School of Pharmacy, which is just a spectacular building. Like when you see it, it has windows that have film on them of insects and different fauna that related to the pharmaceutical industry. Basically, it's these are the products that are that are used to create the pharmaceuticals. It's pretty interesting, actually.
Yeah,
it's a really cool looking building from the outside. Like if you saw the glass on it, you would just be it's 8 stories of glass, and it has all these different plants and insects on them, and you go, wow, what does that mean? And then if you think about it, that's what it is.
All right, perfect. Well, thanks so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you, Angela. Thank you.
Take care.
And that's it for this episode of the Construction Record Podcast. But before we go, I'd like to bring your attention to two economic stories. One from Alex Carrick about vain attempts to defang food, energy, and rent in the U.S. and Canadian inflation. And another one about the European Central Bank's leader, who says interest rates will stay high as long as necessary. We'll have links to both those stories in the show notes. You can listen to the Construction Record Podcast on Amazon Music, Apple Music, and Spotify, as well as on the Daily Commercial News and Journal of Commerce websites. Thanks for listening.